as much as you like Kenneth Grant, did you try to trade down to pick up extra picks, or once he was on the board, had you said we're not trading down, we want Kenneth Grant here at 13?
No, we were very excited to get him there. He was one of the players that we had targeted. There were a number of players we had liked at that spot, and he was one of them. Very happy to get him. We're always working the phones, that whole process. When it gets to in this draft, especially where we are, when we're about 8 or 9, you're always working the phones in front of us and behind us. So we were actively trying to do it, but very excited for Kenneth. We think he's a tremendous player. We think he's going to be able to be a potential impact player for us. Very talented. He's made of the right stuff. So for us, we were very, very happy to add him to the roster.
Why Grant over maybe a cornerback or an offensive lineman?
Yeah, no, for us, D tackle's a big need, a big nose tackle, obviously, but we don't view him as just a run stopper. We do think he has ability to generate, and you've heard us talk with the pass rush. It's not always about sacks. The ability to push the pocket in the middle is a huge thing in the NFL now, and we think he has tremendous work ethic and upside to do that. So we got to know him through the process, the pro day, and so again, this was a player we're very excited to add.
Mike, what excites you about adding Kenneth, and what do you know about him as a person?
What excites me is, I wasn't just wearing a Michigan blue tie for no reason. This is a player, I think from the off season as it began, and Chris and I talked about the way we can impact this team and some of the things that there's real opportunities to impact one position but multiple positions, and I think the most exciting parts of really adding them is you love players that are good players that make other people better players and continue to ascend to be to have the desire to be great. Well, I think affects the run game, affects the pass game, affects the pocket. You talk about some of the biggest impacts in the National Football League on pass downs is where the line of scrimmage is set or how much pocket push you can get. That in conjunction with some of the things that we'll be able to do from a defensive standpoint based upon utilizing a skill set in the run game as well, where you can play various light boxes at times and have versatility, as well as a guy that can draw some attention from some other really good players. Either way, we feel like if you can add really good players on the line of scrimmage, if we had the opportunity, we're really excited about that, and we jumped on this one with elation.
Chris, he's weighed as much as 350. What have you learned about his conditioning?
Yeah, no, it's the college game's obviously a lot faster for the most part because a lot of the no huddle offenses go really fast. So you will have times the bigger players. That's always been a complaint that people have against big players. The weight with us, we got to know him through the off season and what he played at during the season. We're not concerned about it. He's not either, and I think he showed throughout the whole off-season process of working it. And we did a lot of background studies and information gathering on it, and feel very comfortable with him. And from talking to the people at Michigan, they don't really view it as an issue as well.
You mentioned Michigan. What was Mr. Ross's immediate reaction to that?
He was pissed. Pissed. Yeah. Very, very happy. Mm-hmm. He had the theme song, their fight song playing. Mm-hmm. So he was very happy to add a first Michigan player, first round since 08, I think it was.
Mm-hmm. Chris, when you were on the clock and realized that he was still there, was it immediate, this is our guy, or what took place before you said, all right, this is our guy?
Well, Mike was like bumping and ready to go. But we waited. We had a couple calls and just listening to people, and because we weren't completely closed off to the idea if an opportunity came. But at the end of the day, we chose to pick him, and then I literally got 3 texts from teams like right below us saying that was their guy. So,
how does this pick reflect the decision that you all want to take the franchise within the next 3 to 5 years?
Well, I mean, I like the question because, it was important to us that we felt like we had an opportunity to pick at 13, that you don't always get that opportunity. You want to take advantage of it, and you want to make sure that you do things so that you don't pick at that spot in the future. In that process, it was important to have a tonality set, for the 2025 Dolphins, and adding a real presence up front, and just a player that is going to attack it and try to play to the tonality that we aspire to. I think it's very well in step with our vision as we approach the whole process, open-minded, but trying to figure out by round how we can make the Dolphins better. So this he's been on our mind for a long time, and we've overly thoroughly vetted, and so very excited about what we're adding because we feel like we have a very clear picture of what that is.
Did Zach Sealer text you yet?
Yes.
Yes, he did.
He did.
What is that?
Happy things, and he also said, I thought he was just trying to suck up to the University of Michigan, but he said that he's heard that Michigan guys are hard workers, which he's from Michigan. So, I just kept it moving. I said, hopefully he'll be more of a strainer than you are. Because as we know, we're not worried about Zach straining, but he still gets upset if you question it.
How do you feel about yourself up the middle now with Zach and Kenneth Grant working side by side?
No, excited about it, obviously. He's, again, someone we spent a lot of time with to get to know because he's a good football player. Him and Mason in there together, they did a good job the last 2 years. They're a hard team to run the ball on. He played against a lot of good players that have been drafted, and even the guys in practice there. Michigan's offensive line the last few years has been really good, and so the kid just turned 21 years old. So just think there's a huge upside with the room he's going into with Zach and the guys that work, and with Weaver and Austin Clark, who are great teachers and great motivators. And when he came here, that was the one thing. He was, after he met those guys and got to sit in with Mike and I for about a half hour or so, and he was really excited. And so when we called, he was like, you guys are making me nervous. He's like, are you calling to draft me? And so very excited to have him, and we think he'll be a great addition.
Chris, you mentioned your other needs, cornerback, offensive guard. Do you feel confident that you can address these needs here on day 2, or is this something that you're looking more toward free agency for, and you'll just go BPA when available, or what's as much about the strategy as you can tell me?
Yeah, I think
BPA, that was smooth.
your Chelsea shirt's distracting me. Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, I would Man U, but they stink. So anyway.
I have no idea about any of this.
Oh yeah, you're a closet soccer guy.
Yeah,
you're a closet soccer guy.
World Cup.
No, I think we have 9 picks still. Like we said, the draft process, but also free agency. Like as we've said before, there's a number of really good players still out on the streets, free agency, that we've been in touch with, and a lot of those players right now are just waiting to see how the draft unfolds for a lot of teams. So we have 9. We could have more or less. We're willing to go up and down for the right players. So, but we'll be looking at needs, but just not strictly needs, but good football players that fit what we're looking for.
How do you feel about the corners that should be available on day 2?
Yeah, if we feel good, we feel it's a deeper group of guys where there's, and that's always a position that, and if you guys watch and study like you do, corners have come through all rounds here, and Kansas City in the past has played with guys we were looking at were 5th and 7th rounders. Mike was talking in San Francisco, their Super Bowl year, they had guys that were late round players playing. So it's a good draft with a lot of talented kids, and it's just finding the right one for us.
Chris, would your preference, Sergio, would your preference be to wait on a Jalen trade until after June 1st because the cap at this year would be much lower?
No, I think we're open to everything. We've been having conversations with team, but we're open to whenever the right opportunity comes for us in the organization.
At the combine, Kenneth said that he studies Dexter Lawrence and Vita Villa. Do you see any skill set similarities in that group?
Well, they're all big, powerful guys like this kid, and he is, for a big guy, he does have, like people are saying, twitch or explosion. So I don't want to put that kind of expectations on him, but we do think he has traits that will translate well to the NFL.
Mike, how much do you think the trenches will be a trend for you guys in this draft? You said you wanted to invest in offensive line. You made some acquisitions. You've gone defensive tackle here. The trenches will they be a big priority in this draft, do you think?
Well, I think Chris and I are, we're in step and maybe because there's opportunities to add players to contribute to your football team, and these opportunities you can do a lot of different things with them. I think we're more active in how can we make our team better, and sometimes you fill those needs in different ways. It's all about how the presentation shapes out, the things that are available, and making decisions off that, and being able to adjust. Because one thing we'll try to do is evaluate all of the players and not just get honed in on one. You can get in some trouble there. So we'll just play it out, but feel extremely feel very good about where we're at right now as we've seen the players, how stuff has come off, and excited about the upcoming picks for sure.
What's the expectation for this defensive front with now Grant and then a healthy Chubb, Phillips?
I'd love it. I usually talk too much. I think the expectation is realistically something that you can expand to the whole team, but particularly I think the front is, the defensive front seven sees themselves, as they should, as a growing strength in our team and wants to lead by production. But realistically, in general, across the board, it's much less about proclamations of things in the future. The 2025 Miami Dolphins, we've been in an off-season program for a week, and it's about guys committing to each other and committing to doing whatever they can to get themselves better, to make the Dolphins better. And there's been, it's pretty clear in our building. I'm excited to add some more players to that cause, but realistically, the expectation is that any controllable that we have, we make the most of each and every day, and it's that build-up that's important to us. And then the results that are in the future will work out based upon our activity today.
Chris, do you guys have much of a desire to trade back into the first round, and are those opportunities available, as much as you can tell us about that?
Well, we lost some coming to talk to you guys.
I know, man.
So, no.
Like,
I'm just kidding.
And the whole soccer thing derailed us. So I don't know.
No, we're open. We've made calls with some teams before we came in here, so we kind of had an idea of what teams wanted to do. So, again, not closed off to anything, and maybe last pick something happens. So, but we'll always listen and see if there's an opportunity.
Yeah.
Chris, you obviously had a conviction on the player. Were you concerned that trading the third-round pick, you lose an opportunity to add what could be a starting caliber corner when you need a corner? How much did that weigh on you?
It didn't weigh at all. For us, just candid, this was a player that we had targeted. We spent a lot of time with. We had him in on a 30 visit and spent around a lot at All-Star games. Butch went out and spent a day with them and had a private workout with them. So this is a player we're very convicted on for what he can add with his size, his power. He's got versatility. He's played tackle, guard, so he's an athletic kid. And as we spent time getting to know him, he was the right kind of guy for us, and he loves ball. He's very competitive. And so for us, it was important that as we were going through the board, he was the highest rated guy we had. And so the opportunity arose, and we took it.
How difficult was it to give up those, another day, the amount of assets and resources that you gave up to move that high?
Yeah, I mean, it always is. Draft picks are valuable, but at the end of the day, this was a player that we were convicted in that was going to be a starter for us, and he'll play guard for us, and he understands that. We've talked to him about it, and so we're excited about it. And at that point, we'll still keep working here tonight and see if there's opportunities for us to possibly jump back in.
Mike, what makes him a scheme fit for you guys?
Well, I think first and foremost, beyond the scheme fit, we were elated to we had an objective going into the draft of how the types of people we wanted to add and the types of impact we'd hope they'd have. And I think first and foremost, setting the pocket in protection is something that he is very, very skilled at. The idea of adding not only a fierce competitor, but someone that plays with a tonality of violence and aggression. That was something that Chris and I had talked at length about how many people could fit that bill. So that strong conviction. The draft picks are every round is important to us, but you're also weighing that with, do you have an opportunity to get someone that fits the bill in multiple ways for something that we've identified for a long time, needs to be our focus if we have that opportunity. So really pumped. Think pass protection and a run scheme, I think is a great fit for him.
Chris, your first two picks weigh more than a combined 655 pounds. Aside from stocking up the cafeteria, is that by design? Some big people.
Maybe. I mean, it's just they're good football players at the end of the day. We had talked about a lot of things that Mike wanted to do, and us is working through it with the staff and the scouts of what we were looking for, and they both happen because they're both big and they're both powerful guys. So adding that to the O-line and D-line was we felt that was very important through this process. So at the end of the day, we'll take anyone that we feel is a good player that will potentially start for us. But yeah, adding size and some youth to those groups is very important.
Recognizing that you can only do one thing at a time, how concerned are you with the cornerback situation at this point?
Yeah, the draft's not over, and as well as there's some players still, pro free agents like we've talked about, and there may be opportunities through trades and stuff for other people. So it's something that we'll address and keep working through, but we're still early in the draft, so we'll look to work and fill not just corners, but other positions and add depth as well.
Corner would seem to be the only real hole on the roster at this point. Is there any thought with either of you, I'd like to ask you both, to try to reconcile with Jalen because of the quality of a player he is? Is that at all a realistic course to move forward with Jalen Ramsey and reconcile with whatever issues there are with it?
I would just say, we never close any doors on anything, but, we're just going to focus on the Miami Dolphins here right now in the draft and the players that we're adding to the team right now.
Mike, the idea of toughness that you were talking about and kind of approaching these first two picks, I know it's something that's been brought up in here, how tough this team is viewed. I'm curious what conversations there have been, like as far as player feedback or anything within the building that has kind of lent itself to you guys maybe needing to kind of be aggressive in adding those types of players.
Well, I think that there's a mutual understanding amongst Dolphins right now for the 2025 version that just started getting their work in, that non-negotiably we're going to be one team moving in one direction, and we're going to earn everything we get. And so, in terms of narratives, in terms of those expectations, the guys should have. But when I tell you, there's not really any time spent talking about what other people are saying. The opportunity that you have is to do with action what people will ultimately have new narratives for. So if you're controlled variable. If you can put forth a good day of work, and you have teammates that you trust, all the things that being said about whatever, that takes care of itself. So I think the team will embrace our two draft picks thus far, because we kind of know the team that we have and the type of guys that will flourish, and I think it fits something that we're really trying to define every day, which is the type of people we are, the type of team we are, and that will be defined by our work.
Mike, actually, this is for Chris. This draft was supposedly a draft where the second day would supposedly, I don't know if you view it that way, feature the meat and potatoes of what's available in terms of the quality. How do you feel about the depth of the draft in terms of third day possibilities and what's there?
No, and that's a very good question, because when you make a trade like that, you're also looking at what's down the line. And so we feel that there's some good quality players, in the middle rounds of this draft that made us comfortable doing the trade, which, again, we felt strongly convicted on the player. We would have done it for Jonah anyway. But I think especially corners and safeties, offensive line, D-line, like you've heard all throughout the offseason, it's some quality players. There's some good players that are going to go late in this draft still.
Chris, Jonah played, basically every position on the offensive line. I know you said he's playing guard here, but how much did his versatility in college factor into your decision to bring him to Miami?
It's important, because you guys have been here when we've had injuries. The ability for guys to go out and play tackle or move around in this league is paramount. You see it all the time. And so to have someone as big as him and athletic as he is, being able to play all 4 spots for us is key. But he's excited for the opportunity to come here at guard and compete for the starting job.
What excites you about a line? It's all young guys and good in the scheme, obviously, with Paul, Austin Jackson, James Daniels, the young man drafted tonight, and Grier.
Yeah, you can let him take it.
It's about getting better. I think that was a major focus of ours. So we've been very focused to find the right people to take advantage of the opportunity we think we have. I think there's something that guys believe in. That what does that mean and what is that line? They will tell us with their work, and that's what they're excited to do. Obviously, we feel convicted in the players that we've added this year, and some of the pieces that we've had at that position. But more than anything, I think we have the right type of guys to go to work and attack the process so they can define what the offensive line is for the Miami Dolphins. I will say that through the collective group, all the people you've mentioned and some more players, they're all very hungry and eager to work at their craft and help us grow as an organization.
Last year you traded a future year pick to get the running back. Are you open to possibly trading a future year pick this year?
And we're open to, like we always are, opportunities. If we think there's a good football player at a position that will help us to come in and compete for a job, we're always open to doing. Yeah.
Chris, the offseason started with you saying you're going to have to invest in the offensive line. Beyond just liking this player, how much is this a testament to that philosophy?
Yeah, again, it's the offensive line. We understand, the talk has been around here, but, like we said, we had always thought, when we added Connor Williams and people in the past here too, that we were adding good players of value. So the offensive line is always a focus. We'll always defend those guys because, as I've told you, and you guys have all seen, they're the hardest working guys out there. They stay before, after practice, they meet their closest unit. But adding some youth in there with, Robert leaving for free agency, a year ago, was important, and to add some guys back in there. And we're excited about James, just like we were with Brewer last year. You know, when we brought Brew in, a lot of people weren't talking about Brew. And yeah, we're investing in it and getting younger. Patrick Paul last year coming in and learning from T-Stead, which was great. And, you know, so T-Stead has been really helpful and influential on him. So, yeah, we're excited about the group and adding these pieces in.